Hello everybody, welcome to Caro-Kann Haters Corner. Just a little update really on some theory for people who despise the Caro-Kann as much as I do and want a weapon against it. So we're going to go over quite briefly the von Hennig gambit, but I've got an improved variation in one of those lines. And I'm also going to share with you an alternative which looks really, really fun that some of you may recognize if you ever come across like the Tennyson gambit, the ICBM version of that. So let's do a quick review of the von Hennig. Okay, so we've got the white pieces. We're E4 players and they play the Caro-Kann, and we follow up with D4, pawn to D5, and now we develop our knight to C3. This is the third most common move around my level, played just under 1 in 4 times, but it's probably absolutely book. And they will take the pawn here very often. Yeah, by far the most common move, like 90% of the time they'll take. And here, instead of, for example, pushing F3, which you could do, we bring the bishop out early and target the F7 square. They will bring out their knight to add a defender to this pawn, which is under attack. And now you push F3. And the point is here, you're looking for takes, knight takes. And then what is your opponent going to do? Well, E6 is pretty common here. The second most common move, played 35% of the time, is bishop to G4 with the pin. Now this brings us into, as I've mentioned many times, a very common attacking idea. Now the correct move here is to capture the pawn on F7 with check. Okay, and after the king takes, because we have this very standard, there's a bishop pinning your knight to your queen, but you also have a bishop looking at the f-pawn, okay? So you take here, they take back, then you can play knight to e5, where it can move for free. It's not going to be captured there, with check and a fork on the bishop as well, okay? So when the king moves, wherever he moves, that's actually a very dangerous place to move. You get checkmated there. Knight comes back, wins the bishop, and very often you'll get the knight. You'll trade knights as well. So, but that's... In Bullet and Blitz, you could play this version, which is the "Oh no, my queen" line, when your opponent goes, "Ha ha, you dummy, you lost your queen," okay, and then you go bishop takes f7 is checkmate, because the only escape square is guarded there by the knight, so knight defends the bishop, and I've won a bunch of games in that line. Now, notice as well, if we go through the same opening moves, and I have shared this before. F3 takes pin, oh no my queen, right? Now if they retreat the bishop to this square thinking they're defending that, and the knight defends the bishop, don't work, right? You take it out. Okay, if the knight takes, checkmate, straight up. Now this is what I wanted to share with you, the first novelty here. If you play the "Oh no my queen" line, which is not the computer's recommendation, I have to say, but I kind of like it because of the quick win factor. And out comes the bishop. Now, so I'm going to turn on Stockfish here as well. It says bishop takes f7 is plus 2.2, but the immediate knight e5 is plus 2.0. Okay, so we're talking tiny fine margins of accuracy here. So knight e5, perfectly respectable move. All right, now the best line here for black, they really have to bring the bishop back to e6 and block your bishop's view of that. Then what you do, of course, you must trade, giving your opponent DIKP, double isolated king's pawns. And from here, it gets kind of interesting. And there's a beautiful, beautiful trap in this. So, queen to d3. So the idea here is that if you can get your queen onto that square, again, it's checkmate. Yeah, we've lost both light squared bishops off the board. That's not a problem. But the knight is still guarding. This king actually has no squares. So the point is here, after queen d3, you're threatening to bring your knight in here, kind of hitting the rook, and the pawn can't take. Because if the queen takes, it's checkmate. Actually, not if the knight's moved. But anyway, this is the most common move here by black. I mean, being played 11 times out of 14. They're trying to defend the knight, so they'll play knight b to d7. Now you come in with this, and notice, now that this knight has blocked the king's escape, they can't take here, because that is simply mate. It's all over. So you're attacking the rook, they move the rook. Now you swing the knight back, and now we're looking at e6, right? It's +3 for white at this point. The king comes out towards that. Okay, get ready for this. Queen back to e2 now. So the point is, we're not blocking the bishop's defense of the knight, and we're actually threatening to come in here and force the king back there and win the rook. Not good. Okay, so yeah, this has only actually been reached 3 times on each. On one occasion, white managed to lose from this position after knight to b6, actually. So knight to b6, let's say, you can come in now with the knight, better than the queen, because we have this fork here, and we have ourselves a lovely little trap. Okay, here we go. Knight to e4. Okay, this is one I have. I mean, if I can get this in a game, you know, I will die happy, basically. Now, it looks like we've just blundered a knight. Does it not? But the eagle-eyed among you will notice that this knight is actually a poisoned horse. Okay? Can you see why? Feel free to pause and figure it out. Because if the queen takes, uh-oh, right? This is not just a royal fork. Okay? But now, actually, the king has to move. Probably move here. You know, it doesn't matter wherever it goes. And the king is the only defender of the queen. So, yeah, if you're familiar with like the Tennyson gambit and that deflection tactic where you sacrifice your bishop to draw the king away from the queen, open d-file, it's a lovely thing. And here we're just winning, we've won the queen, and the game is going to follow soon afterwards. So, all jolly good fun from the Oh No My Queen line, which I think if I study that line a little bit more, I'll be quite happy to play that even over the board. But anyway, if that's not enough for you, if your juices aren't flowing just yet in your anti-Caro-Kann repertoire dreams, then here's another one that I got off International Master Alex Banzer the other day. Posted a really good video about winning in less than 10 moves in different openings, and this is a different line that you may try, but equally sexy. Okay. So, now here you can actually, there's a couple of move orders. I'll just show you the alternative one afterwards, right? So here on move 2 we play knight f3 straight away. They nearly always play pawn to d5. And you play this weird, clunky, quiet looking d3. People are thinking, well, this is a bit silly because you're blocking in your own bishop, but haha. Now, if you're familiar with the obviously the Charlik gambit against 1d4, or even I think Fromm's gambit against is it Bird's Opening, then this is a similar kind of theme. Now, they take the pawn nearly all the time, and now what do? You move your knight to g5. Now at this point, Black's thinking this person hasn't got a Scooby-Doo how to play against the Caro-Kann. I'm going to grab me another pawn, and you snatch back with the bishop, okay? So you've seen this kind of pattern before, right? Like in the Charlik. And here's the key thing. Just like in the Charlik, we've got an open d-file. But we are not going to try and move that, and then long castle and get our rook onto here. No. No, even sexier than that. Okay, so we've given up one pawn at this point, but in compo, we've got 2 pieces developed. Black's got nothing, mate. Zip. Okay, they bring out their knight and pause and find the best move now for white. There is only one good move for white. Anything else leaves black slightly better. What is white's next move? And if you're familiar with the ICBM gambit, then you'll know it. Okay, in the ICBM, you actually capture with the bishop. Here, knight takes f7. We have a fork on queen and rook, and if king should take, bang. In fact, it's very, very similar to the ICBM. In fact, I might even just show you the ICBM now. Let's just add a new blank chapter. Okay, so the ICBM is... You can get into it from the Scandinavian, for example. Okay, so... And they're thinking, well, you Wally, you've just blundered that. And then again, you move your knight out of the way, right? So very, very similar kind of thing. They think, I best defend my pawn. And pawn to d3. See? It's all the same kind of moves, just in a different way around. They take the pawn, you recapture it with your bishop. Again, notice the complete lack of pawnage on the d-file. Then black goes, I'm not quite happy with having that knight in my face here. Okay? They try and kick your knight away, and it's the same thing. So, you do take with the knight, with a very forcing fork. And again, if the king takes, boom. And notice the king cannot retreat to this square because it's still being check. So king takes, you win the queen, and you go on to win the game. There you go. So I'll just... Tennyson Gambit ICBM. I'll just add that into the lesson just for reference. Okay, so back to here. Here we go, and obviously if the king takes or h takes, doesn't really matter. You win the queen and go on. So this was in response to the move knight to f6, which you can see is just losing. Right, it's now plus 3.2 for white. But there are a couple of other common moves that you will get in this line. And so I'll just go through the moves again. Really weird looking knight g5. They take... Okay, so we've looked at this move. Now what about e6? e6 is actually much better for black. But here you can grab the pawn on h7. It comes for free. They move their bishop out of the way. This is all the most common moves. And now queen h5. And we're getting super aggressive here. Love it. g6 to hit the queen is a blunder. Now why is that a blunder? Okay, you can just simply throw the kitchen sink now at black. You take it with your bishop, they take back, you take back, king to here, and you're plus 5.5 already. Okay, so white here can quite happily castle at his leisure, but the best moves are just to develop your pieces and then just go for the throat. Because black's got nothing. He's not developed, his pawns are in tatters, and he's down... Well, he's up a bishop for 2 pawns, but there's just nothing. He's got nothing to go on. Also, the king and the queen are in line. It's a horrible line there, even from e6, and that's with most common play at the strong intermediate level. Now, let's look at the third version. Here we go. And here, the third most common move, pawn to h6, and this is possibly the worstest of all of them. You simply take there, as usual, but here, queen to h5 check. Now, notice, they can't block with h6 now because queen takes his mate. Okay, they can't retreat. There's nothing else that can block. The king is forced forwards into the board. And, you know, get ready for a change of pants because this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. There is forced mate in 5 from here. Okay, queen comes into g6. Again, we force the king further into the middle of the board. And now what? I mean, if you want to figure this out for yourself, knock yourself out. You stick this on a physical board or whatever, because it's just lush, okay? Bishop to f4, check. Sacrificing the bishop. Now, the king can go to d4, in which case it's mate in 3, or to d5, in which case it's mate in 3. The most common move is likely to be, in fact it is, it's been played 37 out of 62 games here, and white, by the way, wins 94% of the time from here, so you're quite happy. King takes bishop, and find the final move of the game. Pause if you need. Queen g3 is checkmate. Checkmate, mate! Right, the queen covers these, and these, and this. The bishop covers these. The king is in a mating net in the middle of the bloody board. I mean, that is possibly the sexiest attack that I've ever seen. Checkmate on move 9 against the Caro with full respect to Alex Banzer for that one. Now, I should show you as well that there's an alternative move order for getting into exactly the same thing, okay? And it goes like this. And so instead of bringing out the knight on move 2, you can push d3 on move 2. They will always do this. And now the kind of default book move is knight d2, but we don't play it. We play knight f3, okay? They take, you put your knight in there, and it's the exact same position, right? They're very likely to take on there. 62% of the time they'll just take. You recapture with the bishop, and there you go, happy days. So if you're somebody who likes the Charlik, for example, I would definitely recommend looking at this line as well. The von Hennig, also super sexy, but I'd like to pull this one out at some point in a game as well. Just need to have the opportunity. So there you go. Now you've got 2 evil weapons to use against the Caro-Kann. And that's not even including the old kind of 2 knights variation, which I've not looked at for a long time, because quite honestly, when you've got these tricky trappy ideas, it's all good. It's all good. So there you go. Another string to your bow. Right, thanks for watching. See you soon.